Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. So I wanted to have another heart-to-heart with you guys. I think I'm probably just going to start calling these like heart-to-hearts with Laura or something because it seems to most appropriately describe what I want to, like the conversation I want to have, because it's not really like a preach. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a teaching. It's me wanting to have a heart-to-heart with other women out there specifically. So I wanted to talk tonight on this cold night. I have my tea. I don't know if you have your tea, and my huge blanket because I'm frozen. Okay, so I'm gonna try to like warm up here. But if you want to grab your coffee, we can have like a little chat here. So tonight I wanted to talk about something that's been on my heart all day today, and it's specifically a lie that a lot of people face when they're about to step out in faith to pursue their dream, or they've already taken a step or maybe a few steps and now they face this specific lie. So I actually want to tell you a story from my own experience, and then I want to give you like some practical takeaways that will help you, I think, to get rid of this lie that is probably standing right in front of you and you don't even really know it. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Laura Dudek. I am a Bible study author, Christian speaker, and I just love encouraging women in their stories with Jesus. So first, I would ask you if you know anyone who right now is going after a dream. They are pursuing it. Maybe they've only taken a single step, or maybe they've literally just finished writing it down. Wherever they're at, if you would share this with them and invite them into the conversation, I would really appreciate that so we can continue to impact this little community that we have going on. So, and expand it too. So, okay, I want to tell a story, and it comes from last year. So last year is specifically June, so not this recent June, but the one before. I had graduated with my Master of Divinity degree. So I graduated, and I had actually spent a number of months editing and preparing my first devotional to be self-published. And so I spent all this time, and I had gotten this thing published, and I had done all the work. And I remember graduating and thinking, like, okay, I have to release a study. Like, I want to release this as like my first video thing out there, my first project for the world to see, because up until that point, I had really only done small groups and curriculum and speaking and all of that within church communities. So I had been a part of a number of churches where I was in leadership, where I was actually teaching and speaking on a regular basis, but it was only to those people. And so this was the first time that I had stepped out to actually like release something to a whole new group of people. And so I did it. I graduated, I released this study, and it went to, I think there were like 12 people involved or something. It was not fancy. It was legitimately like, I think I did it on Facebook. Like it was 12 days, and I would just release videos every day, and we did it. I did it. It was awesome. It was a great success for that period of my life. Hi, Linda. And so I finished it, and I remember finishing it, and it was like this Mack truck of a lie hit me right in the face. And it was because I, at the time, started researching and understanding who else was out there who's doing what I was doing. And so I started like looking on Instagram and Facebook and started doing research because I was stepping out in a new area and I wanted to see who else was doing what I was doing. And so as I'm learning more and more about what other people are doing, I start realizing, oh my gosh, there are other people who are doing exactly what I'm doing, because anyone's been there. You're like, okay, I'm not alone. Wow, I'm not alone in this. I thought I was the only one. And so I, in that moment, faced this huge lie. And it was the lie that what I want to do and what I want to offer is already out there, and therefore I am not needed. Because it's one thing to know that there are other people out there who are doing what we're doing, but it's a whole other lie to believe that then because there are other people out there, we are unnecessary to the equation, to the world, to offer what we have to offer. And so it actually, facing that lie, it paralyzed me for quite a while, to be honest with you. And I felt like this balloon, like this deflated balloon, that I was like, wow, okay, so if everyone else is doing what I want to do, then I guess I don't need to be doing this. Like this thing that I wanted to do my entire life, to write studies and to be out there and to do videos and all of that, I'm all of a sudden not necessary. And it shook me and I was paralyzed. I don't know if anyone has been there before. And so I went through this whole process of having to deal with these lies. And what I realized from that season is something very important, and I think you'll be able to get a lot from it. But what I realized was that I had never faced that lie before, ever. And so I started reflecting on that today, and I'm like, man, I never, before that point, had ever questioned if I was unique. I never questioned if I was necessary to the world, or if my specific call or my specific dream was needed for those around me. In fact, it was quite the opposite, where I was drawing from my own realization that, wow, this is what the world needs. This is what I need to do. Like, the world needs it, I'm going to do it. And I'd faced other things in my life, other lies, but not this one. And so with that, I started realizing, and this is for you guys, is that when you take a risk, specifically with your dreams and with the things that you have felt called to do, the things that have been on your heart forever, when you take a risk and actually pursue it, there will be new opposition that comes. There will be new lies that you will face. It does not mean that you are broken or that you are a failure, or even that what you're pursuing is wrong, or that you're pursuing the wrong dream. In fact, it probably means that you're pursuing the right dream and you're pursuing the right things. And so what I love is I started reflecting on Jabez. You guys remember Jabez, the prayer of Jabez? Legit, it was like my favorite prayer all through high school. I got the book, The Prayer of Jabez, the whole thing, and I started thinking about it again because this was the first place my mind went. And if you don't know who Jabez is, it's in 1 Chronicles 4:10. And it actually is this line, this genealogy of David. And in the middle of this genealogy, this list of names, there's this man Jabez, and he just peeks up in the middle of this list. And it says that he is more honorable than his brothers. And it says that he prayed a bold prayer to God. And the prayer is that the Lord would bless him indeed and extend his lands, that God would be with him in all that he did, and he would keep evil and pain from touching him. And with that, the Lord granted his request. And what I was thinking about tonight was that simple phrase, and it was a phrase that I've prayed so many times, and it's, Lord, that you would bless me indeed and extend my lands, and you would extend my territory. And so tonight I was thinking about that, specifically when it comes to our dreams, because when you're stepping out into your dreams, you're stepping into new territory that you've never been in before. And so with new territory comes new opponents. You can't ever step into a new place, into a new plot of land, into a new workplace, into a new situation without facing new opposition, new struggles, new temptations, or specifically new lies. It's part of the process. And so what I realized was, even with my specific lie, seeing that I was facing this thing of like, you are not unique, you are nothing different, the world is already doing that. I had never ever faced that. And what I think happens is that the enemy realizes that the old stuff, the old lies, the old temptations, the old struggles aren't doing it anymore. They're not holding you back anymore. And that was something that, in my journey, the enemy realized that, wow, insecurity isn't going to hold her down anymore. Fear of other people isn't going to hold her back anymore. This uncertainty of what she's called to or what she's going to do is holding her back anymore. None of that was holding me back. And so he realized that, and because nothing else was working, he had to throw a curveball in there, something new that I had never faced before, in order to prick something up in me where then I not only questioned that specific step, like, was I supposed to step out in that? Was I supposed to release the study? Was I not? Am I doing anything, that is unique or new, whatever? But I started questioning my entire dream. And I started wondering, wow, am I entirely necessary at all? I don't know if anyone has been there, where it gets like spiraled really, really quickly, you know, and you're like, wow, that got really deep really quick, you know, where you're like, okay, I started off believing this one tiny lie, and now all of a sudden I'm questioning everything and I'm doubting everything. And that's where I was, and it sent me into this major tailspin in my life. And so from that, the Lord has completely redeemed all of it, and I've barreled through it, and I just realized that what I offer is unique, what I offer is different, and it's unique to me, and that's the specialty. You know, that's the special thing about it. And so I had an encounter last night. This all loops around, don't worry. So I had an encounter last night, and I was actually writing part of my new study. And so I'm writing the study, it's super late at night, and I was actually starting to do some research online. And I don't really do that too much when I'm writing studies, especially when I'm like in the beginning stages of it, because I don't want to really see what anyone else is doing. I want my thoughts and God's thoughts, and that's really it. And so last night I actually started to process and think about like what other people are saying about it, and getting just researching it, you know what I mean? And so I knew going into this topic that it was not something entirely new. I knew that there were a lot of things out there, that it's a topic that's been talked about before, and it's been a hot topic recently. And so I knew that it was already out there. And so I'm doing all this research, and I'm reading all these articles and all that kind of stuff, and it just kind of hit me in a different way, where I was like, wow, you know, people are already doing this. I don't know if you guys have had that moment, like when you want to start that business, or you want to write that blog post, or you want to start that ministry, and you know that there's other stuff out there, but then you start really getting into it, and you're like, wow, okay, there's a lot of stuff out there already. It's already been done. And so I'm reading through it, and I have this moment, and I actually started Facebook messaging my husband, and I'm like trying to process this. And I told him, I said, I just feel stuck. I feel like, you know, why am I, you know, what am I offering that's different? And so we started talking about that, and what I realized, and what was so cool, is that you know how much you're growing, and how much the Lord is working on you when you can call it out just like that. When it's not even like it's like a second that you have that doubt, and then all of a sudden like this courage builds up in you, and you're like, actually that's not true. Actually that's completely false. And so I had that moment at first with my husband where I'm like, everyone else is doing this. What am I doing? Is this going to fall flat? Is this going to not be what I expect it to be? And then all of a sudden I had this thing rise up in me. And I actually told my husband, I said that I need to find what only I can offer. What is it that only I offer to the world? And I think that's something for you ladies and gentlemen too, that when you come to that place of realizing, okay, everyone else is doing this. Everyone else is maybe starting that business, or they're going to that school, or they're pursuing that degree, or they're doing all these things. They're creating that blog or that fashion thing or whatever it is. What is it that only you can offer the world? Because it's something unique to you specifically. And I know we know that as believers, that we always hear all the time, like Psalm 139, that we are precious, and we are a masterpiece, and we are beautifully woven, and all of those things. But in the moment of stepping out in faith and having our heart on the vulnerability line, it is difficult to believe that. And it is difficult to really stay true and think, wow, what do I have to offer that is like nothing else that the world has seen before? And so I started processing, without even realizing it last night, these 4 things. And so I want to share them with you, because it combats this lie that we face, that we shouldn't do it, that we are not necessary, or we're not needed in this world because it's already been done. And so there's 4 things that we can learn. There's 4 things that we can reflect on that I believe will rid ourselves of that lie, that will diminish it and send it packing, okay? So the first one is, and they're all things about you. They're all things that you can reflect on within you that make up your unique life, okay? So the first one is your people. And so what this means is that you have a unique audience. You have a unique tribe that only you have. If you think about the entire world, all of the millions and billions of people that are on this earth, there is only one person that touches all of the people that you touch. If you think about that, I mean, really process that. You are the only one that has connections to your coworkers at work, your college mates, hi Lisa, your family, your friends, your neighbors. You are the only one with that network. And I think so often the lie is that that community is already formed. That person out there is already doing business with all of these people, or they already have an Instagram account that's already touching all these people, or I see that Amber is on, photography. You thinking, oh my gosh, there's already all these, photographers out there who are doing business and taking photos of all these families. But there is no one in your position who touches the exact people that you do. And what I've realized, even in what I want to do, which is to inspire women, it is to write studies and to give practical resources for knowing the Bible and knowing Jesus. There are a lot of people who are doing that. There are a lot of women out there who are doing that and doing it powerfully and successfully. And so, is that a word? I have a cold. I don't even know my own words sometimes recently. Can everyone tell me if that's a real word? Successfully? I don't know. I think it is. Wow. Anyway, so there are all these women who are already doing it, right? But what I started realizing was that there are other people in my life who will never know that the people that I follow and I look up to are doing that, because they're not looking for it. And so the people in your life you may be the only person that's going to be an expression of that specific business or mission or ministry or whatever it is. And so there's almost that degrees of separation, right? Where you're thinking, oh my gosh, well, so-and-so is doing this already. And so that means that so-and-so, my friend, already knows about them. And oftentimes that's not the case. They legit have no idea that that person is doing it, but they need you to step in to do exactly what you were called to with that person in order to touch them the way that your person that you're looking to and you're idolizing is actually never going to touch. So that's the first thing, is that you have a unique people. You have your people, your tribe, your audience, your neighbors that is unique to you. The second thing is your perspective. And so this encompasses what I learned about in my first year of seminary, which is your worldview. And so success felicitously, yes, thank you, husband. Thank you, baby. So funny stories, actually, my mother-in-law is a grammar Nazi. She was an English teacher, so she's like my editor du jour. And so that's my husband trying to play editor, helping me. Thanks, baby. So I forgot where it was. Oh, your purpose, your worldview. And so what I learned in my first year of seminary is that there is a unique perspective that only you have in this world that is made up of all of your experiences, all of your stories, everything in your life that has made up your journey. No one else has that. The thing is that we are called to shift culture. We are made to be those that have a unique perspective, not only a biblical perspective, but a unique perspective to shift the world around us. And we can't do that when we're trying to be like everybody else and we're thinking, well, they've already done that, so I should just mimic what they're doing. And we've talked about comparison on here before. And so this is a different perspective on that. So your worldview is made up of all of the things that you have walked through. It is your testimony. It is powerful, which the word says that is the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. That is power right there. That moves people, right? And so it's not just your testimony of coming to Christ and working with Christ to work out a sanctified life, but it's the place that you grew up. No one else has my experience where I grew up in the suburbs and now I live in the city in a very, very urban place that's very, very broken. No one else has that perspective the way that I do. Only I do. Only I have my perspective growing up with the parents that I have and with the friends that I have and the school that I went to and all of that. All of that makes up this unique worldview that only you have. And see, when we have a unique worldview, it presses into an area that we see needs to be filled. And so from your perspective, that's what happens with me when I was growing up. I grew up in the church, but I saw this glaring need for female role models and for studies that actually were relevant to what I was walking through in that moment. Not just things that were ethereal, things that were up here and lofty, but ways that I could bring it down to answer the real questions that I had, the tangible questions, and working out my faith on a daily basis. And so I saw that need from my worldview, from going to church and being in my school that I was at, and all of those things. And so because of my worldview, because of my unique perspective, I saw a need that needed to be filled. And only the way that I saw that it needed to be filled. And so for you, you may have a unique call in your life where you're like, I've seen all of this happen because I lived through these things. And so because I lived through these problems or these struggles or this environment, I see this need that no one else is seeing right now in this specific way. This method of doing life, or this method of expressing the Bible, or whatever it is. I don't know if that makes sense. So you have a unique perspective that no one else has. No one else has. The third thing is your process. What I was reflecting on today was actually this idea, and I was thinking about it last night actually too, was that the way I process is very unique. And I'm not saying that I'm like, I'm 1 in a million and all that kind of stuff with this. Like there are learning types, there are ways that we learn all of that. But there's a unique way that I take in information and I process information in order to give it to other people. There's a way that I process life and I digest it in order to make it easily understandable for myself. And so you have the same thing. See, there is a way that you take in information, and you take in relationships, or you take in problems or solutions and work it out to a solution to make it more accessible, more easily understood, more easily applied, or more efficient. There are only ways that you have that no one else has really been able to express. And so what I was thinking about even with my study last night was that, yeah, there's a lot of ways that this topic has been talked about, but I've never seen it expressed or understood or taught this way. Because I have to have maps. I have to have flowcharts. I have to have colors and breakdowns of topics and all of that. I'm a very visual learner. And I deal a lot with concepts and pictures. So I can read something, and that's great. That's why history has always been kind of hard for me, because if someone just regurgitates history to me, I legit don't understand. I'm totally lost. Like, you're telling me dates, and I have no idea how this all flows together. Most of the time, I'm going to ask you, can you write that in a picture? Can you write a timeline for me? Can you somehow figure that out on a piece of paper? I don't know if anyone else is there. And so I'm doing the same thing for this study. I'm making it accessible, and I'm writing out a process, and I'm trying to use the things that I benefit from in order to speak my language in a way that I will understand, in a way that will speak uniquely to those people that also need that. And so for you, you may have a unique way of organizing or processing business. Or I know my husband, he's an engineer, and he's super efficient, and he works well with Excel spreadsheets and all of that, and he processes the heck out of everything and makes it super efficient. I am not that person. Don't ask me to make your life more efficient, especially with Excel spreadsheets. So that's a unique expression, a unique way and process that he lives by that will touch other people and make it more accessible for them. He processes my entire life, and it is so helpful. So we have 3 things so far. You have unique people, you have a unique perspective, and you have a unique process. The last thing, if you've noticed, they're all P's, but we're just going to switch it up because we can, but I think it's worth it. So you have a unique spice. And by this, because I have to throw something like fun and different in there because that's me. Your spice is like the way that you communicate. It is your personality. It is your likes and your dislikes. And what I was thinking about last night was that, yeah, it may have been done before. People may be out there doing what I'm doing, but they're not doing it with my flair. They're not saying it the way that I'm going to say it. Yeah, they can go out there and they can preach a certain way, they can write a certain way, but no one else has my voice. No one else has my mannerisms or my way of using quirky, weird humor, to pair with deep emotional concepts. And I will never forget This is actually a really great idea for small groups, so you can totally steal this one if you want to. But one of the most memorable moments I've ever had in a small group with a bunch of women was one night we sat in the circle, and there were a lot of us actually, so it took quite a while, but it was so worth it. And we actually had one person at a time be the pinpoint, the focal person, and everyone else in the entire group had to say something nice and positive about that person. And so we walked away literally with our hearts full of all of these words of encouragement and these uplifting words. And so one of my friends mentioned to me, she said, you know, Laura, no one else says or explains emotions like you do. She's like, I don't have words to explain what I feel oftentimes. She's like, you give me words that I don't have, and you explain things in a way that just makes so much sense to me. And I've never forgotten that the way that I talk, the way that I write, is a way that I thought was normal. I thought that the way I spoke or the way I processed or the way that I talked about my emotions or my sensitivity to emotions was just how everybody was. And I found out that night that it's not true, that I actually am very unique in that I can process things in a way that other people don't. And my personality and my gifts and my talents and all of that lend to a unique combination, a mixture that is only for me in this world. And so I bring a unique flair. And so I want to tell you guys that you have the same thing. You have a unique way about you that no one else has. You can speak a certain way, you will use certain mannerisms, you will have certain passions or distastes, whatever it is, that are only for you. Because it's all the bigger picture. And this is where Satan loves to pinpoint one thing and say, wow, you're exactly like blank in this way. And we'll focus on that, we'll fixate on that, and we forget about the rest of us. Yeah, we can be similar. We've talked about this in the last video that I did for comparison. If you missed it, you can go back on my Facebook page. It's there. But we'll fixate on one simple thing, and we throw out the rest. And so we can be similar. We can be different from each other, but it doesn't diminish the rest of who we are just because we're similar in one aspect. And so I hope that this is encouraging for you guys. Just to recap, so there are 4 things that make you unique. You have a unique people, you have a unique perspective, a unique process, and a unique spice to life. And all of those things come together where when you're feeling that prick of, oh my gosh, it's already been done, someone else is already doing this, and I can't do it too, on top of that, process, even for just a moment, these things, your testimony, your worldview, the way that you process life and the way that you learn, the way that you talk, the way that you express yourself, all of that, when you process, you will understand and you will know that you have to go forward. Because when you are called to it, like I said, the enemy will meet you out in the arena. He will meet you in that, on the water, taking the risk, and he will throw something new at you, right? But when we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God has called us to it, he will give us all the strength and all of the ammo to get through it and to defeat that opposition. And so I just want to encourage you guys tonight. I hope this blesses you, that you are needed. I mean, you are legitimately needed. And when the world tells you that it's already been done, when the world already has someone like you who's speaking the message that you're speaking, or who's doing the exact business that you wanted to start, or there's already someone who's doing the consulting thing that you're doing, there is no one else that can do exactly what you have to do in this world, the way that you will do it. God will always use us in the unique expression of our lives to touch people that no one else can in that way. The way that I talk is not going to be the same as you. The way that I process things may not be the same as you. But we need each other, and that is the body. We're not made to compete and say, oh yeah, the hand already exists, so we don't need another one. We all know this. But it just hits home even more to realize that in the risk, when that lie is facing us, we are still needed. We are so needed. And I don't want you guys to discount your dream or to discount what you offer to this world just because you feel like it's already out there and she's already doing it. We need you. We need you so much. And so I just want to encourage you guys with that. So If this blessed you, I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear your stories, and I would love to hear feedback from all the videos, and specifically from this one. So if this blessed you, I would love to hear about it in the comments. If you want to tell me how it's blessed you, or even share like that thing that you've been passionate about, that desire, that dream that you went after, and the step that you've taken to do it, and what you're facing now, and then even what your unique expression is, something that is unique to you. It's not boastful to say, I'm unique in this way. It's taking hold of the things that God has put inside of you. And that's called confidence. That's called authority, to know what you're called to and to know how you're going to do it. And so the last thing I would ask is that if it's blessed you, if this has encouraged you, if you would share it or tag someone that you know in the comments, and we can continue to grow this community and encourage this community every single day. So I love you guys so much. I'm so thankful that you allow me into your lives to share my thoughts and my encouragements. And I hope that you are having a fantastic night, and we will talk again really soon. Bye.